November 21, 1916. Violet Jessop watched lifeboats drift toward Britannic's turning propellers, then realized her own boat was following. She jumped into the Aegean Sea moments before the blades reached them, striking her head as the giant hospital ship disappeared. 4 years earlier, another enormous liner had sunk beneath her in darkness. That ship was Titanic, and she had survived it. Even more strangely, Titanic was not Violet's first maritime disaster, and Britannic would not persuade her to abandon the sea. This is how one stewardess crossed 3 famous ships, survived 2 sinkings, and became known as the woman who could not sink. Violet Constance Jessop was born in Argentina in 1887, the eldest surviving child of Irish parents raising sheep on the Pampas. Her childhood included illness severe enough that doctors reportedly doubted she would live, but Violet recovered and helped raise younger siblings. After her father died, the family moved to Britain, where her mother found work as a stewardess aboard passenger ships. When illness prevented her mother from sailing, Violet left school and applied for the same demanding work despite her young age. Shipping companies preferred older-looking stewardesses, so Violet dressed plainly during interviews, hiding the appearance employers considered distracting aboard long voyages. She began working at sea in 1908, enduring long hours, strict rules, demanding passengers, and wages that offered little comfort. By 1911, she joined White Star Line's Olympic, then the largest and most celebrated passenger liner serving the Atlantic. On September 20, Olympic passed a British warship named HMS Hawke near the Isle of Wight during a routine voyage. The ships drew dangerously together, and Hawke's reinforced bow struck Olympic's side, tearing large openings above and below the waterline. Passengers felt the impact, furniture shifted, and seawater entered damaged compartments. Yet Olympic remained upright and returned safely to port. Nobody aboard died, but Violet had experienced her first major collision on a ship advertised as the future of ocean travel. Months later, White Star prepared Olympic's new sister ship. Titanic and friends encouraged Violet to join the maiden voyage. She preferred Olympic and reportedly hesitated, but eventually signed on as one of only 23 women among nearly 900 crew members. On April 10, 1912, Titanic left Southampton carrying passengers, workers, families, mail, cargo, and confidence built around modern engineering. Violet worked below the glamorous public rooms, serving passengers while learning the routines, corridors, stairways, and expectations of the enormous vessel. Late on April 14, she rested in her bunk after another exhausting day when a faint vibration interrupted the quiet. The impact felt too gentle to suggest catastrophe, and many passengers initially treated the stopped engines as a temporary inconvenience. Then orders changed. Violet dressed, hurried on deck, and began helping confused passengers understand life belts, lifeboats, and unfamiliar emergency instructions. Cold air surrounded families who still struggled to believe the ship beneath them could actually be in serious danger. Officers placed stewardesses near lifeboats, partly to reassure frightened women that entering the small boats was genuinely safe for everyone. Violet entered Lifeboat 16, and an officer handed her a baby as the boat began descending toward the black water. From below, survivors watched Titanic's lights remain visible while the ship's angle increased and the distance between decks and ocean narrowed. The liner finally disappeared, leaving lifeboats among darkness, ice, wreckage, and voices that gradually became fewer across the water. Violet remained in the boat for hours, holding the child against her cork lifebelt, until Carpathia arrived after sunrise. She later recalled that a woman suddenly took the baby from her aboard Carpathia and vanished without offering explanation. More than 1,500 people were lost, including crew members Violet knew, while survivors entered New York beneath worldwide attention. For many people, one night aboard Titanic would have ended every desire to cross the Atlantic ever again afterward. Violet returned to sea within months, resuming work aboard Olympic instead of allowing catastrophe to choose the rest of her life. When war began, she served with the British Red Cross aboard Britannic. Titanic's younger sister converted into a hospital ship. Britannic carried medical staff, crew, and equipment through the Mediterranean, transporting wounded soldiers from the Eastern War Zone toward Britain. Safety changes introduced after Titanic included additional lifeboats and improved internal protection, making Britannic appear better prepared for disaster. On the morning of November 21, 1916, a sudden explosion shook Britannic while she sailed near the Greek island of Kea. The ship had struck a German mine, and water entered rapidly through damaged compartments while the bow began settling lower. Captain Charles Bartlett tried steering towards shallow water, hoping to beach Britannic before the enormous ship could sink completely offshore. That forward movement kept the enormous propellers, turning while frightened occupants launched several lifeboats before receiving official permission from officers. Current pulled 2 early boats toward the blades, where the rotating propellers created a danger more immediate than the sinking ship. Violet's own account describes jumping from her boat, entering the water, and being drawn beneath Britannic's enormous moving hull. She later believed her thick hair softened a blow to the head, an injury doctors reportedly discovered years afterward. Britannic sank in roughly 55 minutes, far faster than Titanic, but improved evacuation and nearby assistance saved most aboard. 30 people died, many connected to the 2 lifeboats drawn toward the propellers while Britannic still moved through the water. Violet survived the water again, this time watching a second Olympic-class liner disappear beneath the sea directly around her. 3 famous sister ships had now entered her life. Olympic collided, Titanic sank, and Britannic sank during wartime service. Yet Violet never described herself as cursed. She treated survival less like a legend and more like work continuing. After the war, she returned to passenger ships, serving again with White Star and later other major shipping companies. Her career eventually lasted about 42 years, carrying her across oceans long after newspapers and audiences had moved beyond Titanic. She retired in 1950 to a cottage in Suffolk, filling her home with memories from voyages most people would avoid. Her memoir remained unpublished during her lifetime, preserving a quieter personal voice behind the later nickname that called her Miss Unsinkable. Violet died in 1971 at 83, nearly 60 years after Titanic vanished beneath the freezing waters of the North Atlantic. Her story is often reduced to extraordinary luck, but luck alone cannot explain why she repeatedly returned to sea. She knew ships could fail, officers could misjudge danger, and modern engineering could suddenly disappear beneath dark, freezing ocean water. Still, she also knew the sea as employment, independence, routine, community, and the life she had chosen for herself. Violet Jessop did not survive because disaster avoided her. She survived because whenever disaster arrived, she kept thinking and moving. 3 ships made her famous, but the most remarkable decision came afterward. She boarded another vessel and sailed again.